Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. I don't know if everybody's partying tonight, uh, getting ready for the big festivities, but I figure I'd go live anyway and talk about what's going on. Things have been fairly quiet, except for news out of Francois and some more things to buttress what's happening so people can understand around the world what kind of government we have and compare it to the kind of government they have. Gee whiz, we got the same thing. Corruption. We don't know how the people in office got there. They keep running on one platform but enforcing another. We can't live in peace. We're on a constant treadmill all the time. Mom's got to work. Dad's got to work. When there is a mom and a dad, and you get home, you're so tired, you turn on the news, and every channel you go to, they're saying the same thing. So I don't know. I think they call it an awakening, right? So, hello, Diane. Hi, Kim. B-Dog. Hello, Donna. Mr. Kibler. Linda Kirksey. Damon. I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, and also who listens to the broadcast after the live stream. And if that's the case, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. You know when I go live, so you can join the chats or just watch the chats go by. Hello, Ingrid. Hello, Linda. Two Lindas. Haha. So we got Diane in the house. Henri. You already gave me a thumbs up, Henri. I appreciate that. You must have liked my opening. Jersey Joe. So now I'm sure everybody else is going to give me a thumbs up too. And if you haven't, just go ahead and dip out of the chats, give me a thumbs up, and come right back in, and we'll wait for you. We'll be right here when you get back. So let's see how quick I can get over 100 likes during the live stream. When I hit the 100 mark, we'll have a party. So anyway, I guess that we heard last night from Newsmax, and that means that nobody else is reporting it. Nobody else meaning your friends and relatives who haven't woke up yet. They're just starting to rub their eyes and look around. They haven't heard about the cocaine in the White House. Hunter dropped a line. I retruthed a video of Newsmax's report real quick about Hunter. We talked about it last night. Hi, Wild West. Mike, how you doing? So, Dottie, how are you? Military on the move. Right now you talk about in Europe, because where else is it? Switzerland and one of the other low countries, they're starting to have the same kind of riots. And it's no secret, and I still have to be careful on this platform, what I say, how I say it, but it's getting so obvious to people that these are new arrivals. And boy, they're being pretty strategic when you think about it. You compare it to the Summer of Love. They are much more coordinated. They burn down apartment buildings, okay? They burn down shopping malls, police stations. They raided the zoo and let the animals out. They burned down a library with medieval transcripts. They say they're trying to go after the Louvre. I mean, that's historic. This is way more disruptive than, if any Americans are watching this stuff on TV and think it was like it was the Summer of Love in America, they're wrong. These people, I know they raided a police station, got some heavy weapons, okay? I know they raided a gun store and got some heavy weapons. But France has had the most restrictive gun laws of just about any civilized country for decades. And these people are well armed. They've got rocket propelled grenades. So where do you think they're getting this stuff? Wait a minute. I saw an article on one of my Eastern news services where they confiscated some sniper rifles that had been earmarked and sent to Ukraine, supposedly, as part of an aid package. But either they never got there and was credited with going there, or they were intercepted and sold, or some such action like that. So there's heavy weapons from Ukraine making its way to the civil unrest in Paris, gay Paris. Oh well, that's what they used to say in the 50s and 60s, gay Paris. Now it's got taken on a whole new meaning. LGBT Paris. But anyway, well, what a way to run a country, and the people are waking up. So, I mean, the regular Frenchies that were so laid back and accepting of so many different things, they didn't realize what kind of wolves they had at the door. And the authorities, quote, authorities know which groups are mostly involved. You're talking Syrians, you're talking Somalians, North African people. Okay. That's what you're seeing a lot of that action in. And a lot of them had been training at ISIS camps, you know. Don't forget who started ISIS. John McStain and Barry Hussein. John McStain and Barry Hussein. I like that. How you doing, Tennessee? Jamie, Melinda. Could be a test run in France. Well, of course it is. Yeah. We're seeing a lot. How you doing, Roberto? Mary Freeland, how are you? Jersey Joe. Kathy, let's see. Sharon? Jamie. Okay. So if I miss anybody, I apologize. Let me just scroll, because sometimes I can't scroll, but so far, and my chat's go a little cuckoo on me. Hi, Joy. Hi, Alicia. So that should be everybody. Yeah, a test run. Well, the test run, I think, was Summer of Love in America. Summer of Love in America. They've got, look what we've been having coming in along Texas, along Arizona, along Colorado, all those places. We've had over, what was it Mr. T said, over 100 people from 140 different countries been coming in by the tens of thousands. White Lightning, how are you? Kim said, I'm afraid the French imported their problems. Well, where's the difference from us? They had that thing called shenanigan or something like that. That was the term for free reign. You could walk back and forth all across Europe. Don't worry about borders. Don't worry about papers. And they stopped that in I think 2014, maybe. They stopped that. I can't think of the word, or shenanigan or something like that. Awaken Trillium, how are you? 2 more jets, Kathy said. You got jets going over your house? Tennessee's working. Working man. Hold on, I got a notification. Let me see. Ha ha! All right, somebody give me a boom in the comments there. And Aaron stopped by and helped me out with a buy me a coffee. That's AIRUN. So just get the spelling right on that. The Godfather of Buy Me a Coffee helped out from the very beginning. So this broadcast is brought to you by Aaron and Gary from helping me out last night. That's my sponsors for this program. I was watching a Jackie Gleason television show where he would take a minute for a sponsor and he would hold his cigarette and then this is, what was he smoking now? Kent's. I think it was Kent's, and he talked about how great the cigarette was. So, anyway, those are my great sponsors for last night's show, and Aaron's the first one for tonight, and I appreciate it. So, hi, Nikki, how are you doing? Make sure you don't feel like chopped liver tonight. You're never chopped liver, sweetheart. South America selling passports to anyone. Yeah, Venezuela in particular. Am I right on that, B-Dog? They've been doing that. They've been doing that for a long, long time. Cheshire, how are you? You're in Ireland. And the EU stirred up stuff in France, you say. Aha, Polish and Africans. Well, the Polish government's been making noises. I don't know if I got a screenshot of that article or not, but I heard today they were thinking about getting nukes and that they were concerned about the Wagner Group, okay, to the north of them. And they were also concerned about the Germans, the liberal Germans to the west. So Poland, there are factions in Poland, I'm sure, that think different ways than the EU. Yes, here in about 3 hours, it's going to be 4th of July. Awaken Trillium says Happy Independence Day. Well, today is the 160th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg. A lot of you may know that. The bloodiest battle of the Civil War. Isn't that horrible? And there are a lot of people in the press, in the Eastern press, Eastern Europe, that feels there's going to be a 2.0 in America. But we know that's not the case. As Abraham Lincoln said, we want every inch of it. We're keeping it all. This is our country. We're not ceding anything to anyone, and we're not trying to leave our country to leave the remainder to any group. We want it all. It's ours. And we're going to live under the Constitution by law. Excuse me while I have a sip of my coffee. Thank you, Aaron. Man, that's good. That's good. I got to get me some more dark chocolate and peanut butter. I've been out of that, so it brings me down. But anyway, I'm perky for tonight, though. Yeah, so there's a lot of different pieces, and what Mr. T was talking about, World War III. People go, oh, well, Ukraine and Russia and Taiwan, right? Well, there's a lot more problems going around besides that. You got North Korea getting bristled up. You got Poland talking about nuclear weapons. Belarus has already got nuclear weapons. You got France at a boil, Switzerland at a boil, Belgium with internal unrest by insurgents. They're not trying to assimilate into the country. They're not saying, hey, I came from a really bad place and I want to come here and be a Belgium. Just like you guys. I want to come to the Netherlands and wear wooden shoes and stuff. No, they're not doing that. They're coming in there just like I got a clip of that imam that says France is going to be singing Allahu Akbar. Okay. Oh, I can't say that on you, Tizzle. But anyway, that's what they say. I've had friends, Muslim friends, that say that God is great, and I agree. I say God is great too. Yeah, He is. He is great. But anyway, there's definitely a Muslim influence in a lot of this stuff. But you have just generic mayhem makers. B-Dog said, yes, anything for a dollar. Yeah, well, they're working for something else now. The dollar, I will talk about that debasement of the dollar. So, where's Mr. T going to be for 4th of July? I asked that last night. If there's going to be something at Mount Rushmore, I don't know. I checked his social page, but I didn't see anything on where he's going to be. And I, the flutter in my chest part of me, says that might be when the baddies make a counter moves and counter moves, game theory. That's what this all boils down to. I remember I did a show months ago, and I discussed a movie called Starship Troopers. Do you all remember that? Let's see. Kim says EU needs to. I got some Chinese glasses on, but EU needs to be dismantled. Go back to each country having sovereign borders. Well, Britain got out of it, thanks to Nigel Farage. He started the ball rolling, and I meant to talk about it last night, but he announced that they had taken away his bank account, essentially making him a non-person. Now you think about that. You think about if they take your bank account, what will you do? He's talking about the stringent situations over there in the UK. Well, wait a minute. We got the same thing over here. If they lock up, freeze your account, or prevent you from using a bank account, hey, how will you conduct business? How will you pay your mortgage? How would you own anything and be happy? So I'm telling you that 1916 is when they screwed up with giving the government the right to take the fruits of your labor right out of your pocket. That was the beginning. This country went 20 years, and nobody had a right to take your money. I told the story of Abraham Lincoln when he was going to the Young Man's Lyceum to debate, I believe it was. He was sharing a room with a guy who's a fellow up-and-coming attorney, and he, was trying to find out if his friend was okay with money-wise for the trip. And he said, I don't want to be rude, but may I inquire as to your situation? A very polite way of saying, you're doing all right money-wise, buddy. And no, here, the way government is operating now, they want to know every damn thing, and they want their cut. And it's gotten out of hand. It's turned into a flipping monster. Oh, Tennessee said, so you had your divorce on the same day as the Battle of Gettysburg? For crying out loud. Well, my parents got married on Bastille Day. I remember they used to laugh about that. My parents got married on Bastille Day. They were married 55 years. Okay. Let's see. Saudi Prince said Biden threatened him. Well, I do have that tape of him threatening Poroshenko, and I'm sure that the good guys have got a lot more tapes. I mean, that laptop. Anybody thinks Hunter left that laptop behind by accident? They're not in tune with what's happening. I'm just wondering how bad things are going to get. And the dollar is in trouble. We just haven't felt it yet. Wild West, how you doing? I'm looking. I guess Aaron's working and listening. Uh, hope he's out there and hears me. But anyway, Wild West said, look what France did 2 years ago. Now all them, yeah, they're burning down. Yeah, well, they've been doing it for more than 2 years. Let's see. Whoops. Uh, yeah, Nikki, how's that stuff coming over from Canada as far as the fires? I mean, that's insane that's been going on as long as it has been. So we get all this stuff in a pot, boiling away. But as far as the dollar, climate change was a thing on the Mount Rushmore. I think they're going to do it anyway. That's what he did a couple of years ago, but I don't think he's going to get away with it this time. Oh, Newsmax is supposed to put up a Mr. T speech. That'd be nice for the 4th of July. Thank you, Donna. And Trump has another rally on the 7th. Man, I'll tell you what. Can you imagine Biden doing just that many 10-minute press conferences, much less flying all over the country and then talking off the top of his head for hour and a half, 2 hours, like Mr. T is doing? That's right, B-Dog. You watched Dr. Zhivago. Good for you. Yeah, that if you watch that movie, every time you watch it, you'll pick up something else that you didn't notice in the first time you watch it. The commentary on how society was destroyed, how disease started being rampant. People had their homes taken from them. People couldn't keep their kids warm. They couldn't keep themselves warm. They didn't have nothing to eat. Every time you watch it. And how nosy the communists were. Hi, Digital Hawk. Yeah, we're seasoned enough, but a lot of people aren't. We sometimes we run into hotheads. But I tell you, Nikki sent me a good video. I'm going to have to copy it about some guy who was talking to a reporter about what was it, -48, and JFK Jr.'s really the vice president, and all this stuff that you all have heard. And man, if that don't make us look like a bunch of kooks. Now we know there's something going on, but be careful when you get an opportunity to pull a fellow American in so they can see the corruption, so they can see all the business dealings in Ukraine. Does your neighbor know that Mitt Romney's son also works for a gas company in Ukraine, getting money for nothing? Do they know about when he threatened Poroshenko to lie about Privat Bank when Trump was in office? You know, things like that are verifiable. You can show them a clip. Don't get into that stuff about numerology and all that stuff like that. Air quality is better in Michigan, but not great. Yeah, I bet they do have sinus and sore throats. Well, at least it's getting better. Oh, that's right. France has skyrocketed the carbon emissions in just 3 days. I saw a video where this guy in the UK was complaining because he went to charge up his electric car, and he got the bill, the pump or whatever can't even call it a pump. Excuse me while I was sipping my coffee. I told him something like I don't know, 30 euros or however much it was. And he said, man, why is it so high? I didn't even charge it all the way up, just partially charge it. And it turned out they were charging for parking. They were charging him so much a minute for her parking. And I put in the comments, I'm glad he got chumped. You know, these people that get the holier than thou backside on their shoulder and nose in the air, that they're so much better than everybody else getting these electric cars. I'm glad you're getting ripped off. I'm glad you can't go as far as you want to go. I'm glad you have to sit around and wait to get charged up. I'm glad they charge you. You are fools. What's happening in France with the so-called carbon emissions? What's going on in Ukraine during these battles? You could have thousands of cars run for decades and not touch what these people are putting out just in those two situations. So it is idiotic and a boogeyman tactic. And, you know, hey, you got morons spending $120,000 on pickup trucks that can't even carry anything or travel any distance. So good for them. I'm glad. Karen says, get silver, even save quarters and dimes. Spends if you need it. That's right. Pennies make dollars. Potato can't talk for 10 minutes. That's right. And Nikki's keeping my channel safe. Ha! Please listen to Nikki for me. Ha! Hi, Digital Hawk. How are you? Well, this is moves and counter moves, Ian. Joe will never make another run. Well, we are not out there by saying, because it's come obvious to so many people, that sometimes we're looking at two different people, at least one with earlobes, one without earlobes. I mean, people can look at that and see. And as long as they keep that somebody doddering around on stage, they're going to keep him as a candidate. Because I've asked, you know, in the past, I said, who is going to take over for Joe? Holy cow, I got another notification. Mary went to the coffee house. Somebody put a boom in the chat for Mary. I appreciate it, Mary. This program is sponsored by Mary Freeland, Aaron, and Gary. Back to our regular programming. I'll have to think of something real good, do like Jackie Gleason did. Real smooth, you know, he did smooth. Let's see. Thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you. So, where was I? Matthew, don't put that letter in there for me, Matthew. You got to put CUE. CUE, boss, instead of the letter itself. But people do get that stuff too crazy. And I believe in it. I watch it. I read a lot of the posts, moves and counter moves, game theory. But I get back to that movie I was talking about. Starship Trooper. Well, the one young man was telling his friends, they said, how'd you do on your test? And he said, I scored top of my class in game theory. And a recruiter sitting at desk said, well, you will be an officer in no time, because game theory is what it's all about in WAR, right? And when you're in military, that's what you're in the military for. WAR, right? Be ready for it. Know what you're doing. And That's what we're doing now. Things are heating up, and it's like a chess game where, you know, the point in a chess game where people start making their moves faster. I'll make a move, and then my opponent will make a move real quick. I'll make a move, my opponent will make a move real quick. That's where we're at. And it's going to get down to the game where you got somebody, they've lost, but they're just waddling the king around just to escape and drag it out and hope you screw up, you know? And when it gets to that point, that's when they could flip the board and cause problems, try to do some kind of major distraction rather than finish out the game, because these people are not going to give up easy. Tubala said Newsom will replace him. That's what I think. I think it's going to be Newsom, and I think Mike Shell will be involved in some way. Yeah, I'm hearing fireworks too, Nikki. Of course, I'm in the country, but I still hear them very faintly. And of course, people in the country get those kind of fireworks that are loud and high. So I'm just looking to see if anybody else made any guesses. Yeah, they're talking about blocking the sun. It's summertime. It's hot. Live with it. That's what I say. Matthew said Big Mike, that Big Mike will be involved in some way, shape, or form. Hi, Cheryl. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. Strong Roger. Yeah, I put a picture up of him. It's going to be Kamala and Newsom. Whether, you know, it's going to be Newsom on the top of the ticket, Kamala second. I don't know how they're going to work it out. Well, you can't have any more baggage than Joe, and they put him in there. It doesn't really matter. You know, if the media won't report, you know, I know he's got too much baggage, but you and I knew Joe Biden had too much baggage. And like Mr. T said, he's shot in the head. But regular people don't know it. Outlandish, how are you? Karen said BRB. How can someone else replace Biden other than Kamala? Oh, Kamala. Well, you look, I've said before, you look at what happened with Nixon. You look at what happened with Richard Nixon. Who ended up replacing him? A senator from Minnesota, I believe, named Gerald Ford. He was nowhere in the picture. Okay, out of the blue, how did he become president? That's the way they do it. I did a whole video on it. It's not going to be Speaker of the House. They're going to slip one in. You watch them. Just like they did Gerald R. Ford. And then they got Jimmy Carter in there. Let's see. Just checking the chat. Whoops. Let's see. When Potato was out of the country and Newsom was spotted at the White House. Yeah. Well, Obama's been spotted at the White House. I had a secret lunch with Joe the other day. The Constitution says Joe not able to, Kamala takes over if she can't as Speaker of the House. Well, what would happen is, let's just theoretically say something happened to Joe tonight. Had an aneurysm or something like that. Emergency, they swear in the vice president. The Secretary of State which is Anthony Blinken, would become acting vice president once Kamala went to be president. And everybody say, well, she can't be president because of this, she can't be president because of that. We said the same thing about Barry O, okay, and he was in there for 8 years. These people don't care about the law. They don't care about the Constitution, okay? So anyway, Anthony Blinken would be the acting VP. Then Kamala Harris would nominate somebody to become VP. Just like Richard Nixon nominated Gerald Ford to become VP when Spiro Agnew stepped down for VP. And Henry Kissinger was acting vice president at the time. So she could nominate anybody. She could nominate Mike Schell. She could nominate Gavin Newsom. And then, you know, who knows what happens with Kamala. And then Gavin Newsom president. So that's just one scenario out of many. But it's just like my thumbnail said. According to all calculations, a big storm is coming. Let's see. Thank you, Mary, for helping me out with a coffee. Mary, Aaron, and Gary yesterday. Tennessee. Big Mike on Hollywood Boulevard. She's over in Greece. Or he is over in Greece with Tom Stanks. Hi, Georgia. Well, hey, I tell you what, people say, gosh, you know, this is horrible. And that would be horrible. This would be horrible. Excuse me while I have a sip of my coffee. What I didn't get to last night, what if? What if so many things hadn't happened? What if Mike Pence said, oh, yeah, we got to check these votes out and send them back to the states, and there'd be riots, there'd be fighting. Who the hell knows what way that ball would have bounced? What if Trump never won and Hillary got in? And then Dr. Fauci came out with his little stunt and the economy was closed down for 5 years. What if? I can't think of another scenario than what's happening and how things are going now that would have exposed so many methods and individuals who need to be before court. I'll put it that way. I can't think of a more effective scenario, just like we've heard it had to be this way. Anything else they would have done, we would not have found out about any of this stuff. And so many people, not just in America, but around the world, would not have experienced the last 24 months in particular of waking up to what in the heck is going on and what kind of people are not only running our government, but trying to run the entire world. So they've only got so many moves on the board, so many players that will be able to engage. So I'm happy. I mean, there has to be conflict. There has to be upheaval. There's always is when change comes about. But hey, we're living to see it. I might not live to see the end of it. Oh, well, we're 39 minutes in. Where's my thumbs up? Hi, Red. How you doing? Explore America. Hi, Sherry. How are you doing? Well, like I said, it's the 160th anniversary today of the Battle of Gettysburg. I think the fatalities on that day were six figures. Was it, how many people died at Gettysburg? It may have been 70,000. I'd have to brush up on that. 70,000 Americans during that battle. So I was looking at True Social. One of the people on True Social, what are we celebrating for? We got this going on. We got that going on. Hey, we're going to have our country back, just like Mr. T said. Okay. So we need to be celebrating. We got people who have been sitting in the catbird seat as criminals that are being exposed and sweating bullets right now. Okay. You don't hear squat out of Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. You haven't heard nothing out of him lately. You hadn't heard anything out of Feinstein of any consequence. You hadn't heard anything out of Maxine Waters. All these big talking blowhards that have thought they had it made and all became multi-millionaires off of, quote, serving the public in government. They're all being exposed as a bunch of thieves. So I think it's great, and I want to celebrate because it's just starting. The pain is just starting. Karen, you want to listen to Julie Green. Mr. T said we're getting our country back. Okay. If you want to do that, you want to do that. Yeah. And they are all going to jail. They are. And we're so fortunate to see it. But I don't ascribe to people who put words in God's mouth. I don't like that. And I've said it in the past. And I've said I know people want to unsubscribe from me. But I will always stand for the word. Okay. Nobody speaks for God. That's right, Debbie. Everything's being exposed right in front of us. So let me see some of these articles that have been coming out. And let's see. So, gosh, somebody put up a bulletin board said, never forget, freedom is not free, bought by American lives. And it lists all the wars and all the soldiers we've lost. And since this is the anniversary of Gettysburg, the Civil War had 623,026 Americans die. Okay? 623,026 to keep this nation a union. To preserve the union, over 500,000 Americans died. Keep that in mind before people get in the notion of giving up 1 inch of our country to anybody. That over 500,000 men died, well over, to preserve this union and to stamp out lawlessness. Namely, those who do not want to follow the Constitution. Yeah, Jamie. They said over 1 million tickets have been sold to the Sound of Freedom movie. And the latest blockbuster that's been let out by Hollywood, supposedly blockbuster, we talked about last night, was Indiana Jones movie. It is an absolute nightmare, the box office. Here you have a holiday weekend. They let it out a day early on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It isn't coming anywhere close. And they're giving away tickets. I think it's Applebee's. If you go in and get something, if you spend $35 or more at Applebee's, they give you tickets to go see Indiana Jones. That's how dismal it is. That's right, Gary. So I gotta laugh at that. I gotta when I think about that, and I like Harrison Ford. You know, everybody watched Blade Runner. Everybody watched the Indiana Jones movies, Star Wars movies. He was in all that, and it's so sad to see him in his 80s having to play along with a politically correct bunch of garbage that totally destroys the legacy of that character. But hey, that's what you get, right? That's what you get. And that's what they're getting. And people are going to want to go out and see. I mean, this is a holiday time. And I know I watched some people's reactions to that movie. And yes, it is dark. It is sad. But it needs to be shown. And it could be a lot worse as far as getting people upset. It is basically an introduction to a very dark world. And so word of mouth is going to get around about that. And it will cause our country to do just what Mr. Trump said. Take a look at our spiritual problem. This country has a spiritual problem. And he also said when he was talking about Biden, he said, I'm not talking about age. He said, I've got a lot of friends who are elder, in their 80s, and they do great. He said there's something else besides his age or his health. And I was thinking that he was talking about the spirituality of it, of the situation, who and what the man worships. Because I don't care what anybody says, they all either worship money, themselves, Satan, whatever. People who don't strive to serve God's purpose. They're striving to serve some other purpose. So they can say they're atheists or whatever purpose they're trying to serve, that's their God. So that's why I think Trump was getting at with Joe Biden having some other problem. Yeah, Cheryl. Yeah, look it up and see where it's playing. Starts tomorrow. Uh, they've got over 1 million tickets sold. I mean, that was earlier today. It's probably, Mary said 10 million made for them, made already on the movie. Yeah, Gary, 1 million. I'm hoping by tomorrow it doubles because it's just starting to get around. Um, Somebody who posted on Truth Social that their uncle or somebody asked, "Have you heard about the Gibson challenge?" And they don't even have the internet. And his uncle has already heard about the Gibson challenge. Mel Gibson getting up there saying, very short to the point, you need to go see this movie. So I hope it doubles by tomorrow. Its production cost was 10 million. I read that in the chat somewhere. And you look at Indiana Jones, oh my God, I don't even know what it costs to make that thing. They said it's got to gross $1 billion to break even. 900 million or more to break even. They're going to lose so much money on it, and they deserve it every minute. Everything they got coming to them. That's right, Karen. It isn't our God. Yes, if you haven't hit the thumbs up, please do. Are they clapping at the end of the movie, Mary? Yeah. They say that the young girl that played the role in there was just really awesome. Uh, really hit your heart. A very good performance. And the guy who played Passion of the Christ, played Jesus. He's a very good emoter and communication of emotions. So yeah, let's root for that and go see it if you can. Devin Nunes put out on Truth Social. There are only two. It's Wall Street Apes put out. Devin Nunes retweeted it. There are only two groups who hold whoite supremacy rallies in the United States. One is the FBI, and the other is the Lincoln Project. And have you noticed that Trump uses the word, as Archie Bunker used to say, prevert? He's used it at least 3 times, I know, very pointedly and specifically. The Lincoln Project, he called them a bunch of preverts. And Adam Schiff, he called prevert. And Andrew Weissman, he called prevert. So I'm going to make a list about that, see exactly how these people end up that he's specifically calling that particular name. Yeah, it's a tearjerker, I'm sure. Oh, Tubal, you met Jim Caviezel. That's what I heard, Dottie, that there's another movie coming out. I think, is that the one that Gibson had more involvement in? It's more of a Hollywood style drama, I think, that Gibson is directing and producing. I am not sure of that, but that's what I heard. I think that's the situation. Well, Mel K, how you doing, Richard? Mel K's been, I like Mel K, but hey, they beat the same drum over and over and over and over again. And maybe she's just gotten tired of it. The same Charlie Ward drum, the same thing that so many of them I've talked about in the past get into. Jamie, you threw most of your movies out? Yeah, because it's just showing that Hollywood is poisoned. Yeah, that's why I heard he was going to do a 4-part series on it. So, yeah, we're all looking forward to that. A little reality for hit people between the eyes. So Diamond Silk put out, whoever heard of this type of corruption? A federal prosecutor who donated funds to Biden's presidential campaign and also decided to press felony charges, declined to press charges against felony charges against Hunter Biden. They donate, the prosecutors donate, and they do their bidding. Charlie Ward, MIA too. Yeah, I mean, they're going down the same path. And I don't even want to talk about the stuff they talk about because, like I said, it hurts our credibility. So even if some of it's true, it's not germane to what's happening now. What's happening now, Mr. T brought up Title 42. When he gets in, he's going to take every trafficked child and turning back over to their parents in their countries. He's focusing on child trafficking. We've got this movie coming out about child trafficking. Mel Gibson's working on a series of child trafficking. That stuff's got to get through to normal people. Then they can go down the rabbit holes. And some of these rabbit holes with Charlie Ward and all the other names I mentioned, some of those rabbit holes have been dug by people who want clicks. There's enough horrors on this earth without dreaming up more horrors. So, that's what I think. I think they're getting tired of the same. I'll call it a shtick. And I'll tell you, I would not be surprised if something did happen before the elections. I also would not be surprised if they tried to stop 2024. None of us would be surprised if they try that. We would not be surprised at anything they try. But I'm not going to predict it. But I'm going to be ready for it. I'm not going to be surprised if they try to railroad Trump in some manner to say he cannot run for president and force him off the ballots in these Democrat states. That's an option. That's what they did to Bolsonaro's in Brazil. They said he could not run for president for 8 years. The Supreme Court of Brazil. So they're going to be looking at these options of what they can do. And at some point, they're risking so flagrantly violating the Constitution that there has to be an intervention. But I'm not going to say that's going to happen for sure. But they're not going to go down without a fight. Let's see. That's right, Liam. It's only make believe. Yeah, we got to go with what's real. Yeah, Mel K used to work for Mr. T. She sure did. I like her. But, at some point, they get the same guests and it's the same. Like I said early in my broadcast, I was watching Charlie Ward and a half hour of my time. And I said, wait a minute, I listened to this exact same program 6 months ago. But it's all spoken in a way to make it seem imminent. But we see in the here and now what they're doing. What they did with Bolsonaro, so they're going to try it on Trump. What Zelensky did in the Ukraine, suspend the elections, suspended opposition parties, they're going to take a hard look at that as an opportunity. This stuff is happening in other countries, not my speculation. Just like when they took all the guns from people in Australia, a lot of us predicted they're going to try the same thing in this country, and that's what they've been trying to do. Let me see. Who's got top secret? Oh, Debbie said all she knows is it's all going to come out. That's right. It's all going to come out. But as far as what's happening, who's doing what, moves and counter moves, 80% of it we know is covert. Like when Lindsey Graham got booed, right? And Trump said, I'm going to have to work on these people, Lindsey. I'm trying the best I can. And they're booing him. And he did look pitiful. Stand up there trying to, well, let me tell you, I'm getting along, Mr. Trump. And and then boo. So, but we don't know what Lindsey Graham's role is. And we don't know, we do know, and at the risk of repeat myself too much. We do know what he did for Brett Kavanaugh. And if it wasn't for him standing up as forcefully as he did, Kavanaugh would have been in doubt. I mean, he buttressed up the weak Republicans to where they had better had voted for Kavanaugh. And there were, two or three of them that were shaky. So, like Mr. T said, he comes through when you need him. And as far as him being in areas with John McStain, for all we know, he could have been a plant. He could have been going around with McStain and getting evidence, irrefutable evidence, because a lot of us know the real McStain record, and a lot of us don't feel he left this country, this earth, with honor. Okay? And Lindsey Graham may have been going with him to put the nail in the coffin, so to speak, with some recordings or evidence. We don't know. It's, it's got to be covert. You can't let people know what you're doing. It's got to be secret squirrel stuff. Well, the Dottie, he did stick up for him. You heard him. Mr. T tried to rehabilitate him. He did get booed. He got booed. If you watch a replay of it, he does look pitiful. And he does try a politician's best to turn it around, but he didn't do very good. That's right. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. That's from The Godfather. Who had a heart attack Friday in White House? Was scrambling to cover. Oh, no, I hadn't heard that, Henri, but you're going to hear all kinds of stuff like that. That bribing had a heart attack, but no, we know they got interchangeables. And then you get people talking about clones. It's so ridiculous. When they got these top of the line masks, we've seen them for 20, 30 years. They have these advanced masks they can put on people, and I'm sure they've done it for Trump for his safety and stuff like that. So, and like I said, it doesn't matter if Joe corks off and whoever gets in there after Joe, the puppet master's running the show, folks. That's the one we're after. And we want all the minions, all these paid off prosecutors, all these supporting attorneys. They all got to be outed. We don't want to be grabbing people and say, hey, we know you were thinking about doing something. No, we're going to say you filed this paperwork that you knew was unlawful. Okay, now get your backside out of that chair. You're gone. History, and we'll be filing charges. Now get up and get out. Just like Mr. D said, he's going to be marching them out of federal buildings. If we'd have done this back in 2020, we wouldn't get 30% of all the creeps. They'd still be in the government. We got to wring them out of there. And what did Gandalf say? Draw them out like poison from a wound. That's what we're doing. We're drawing them out like poison from a wound. And we're seeing new players all the time that they've got to step up and stick their foot in their mouth. And the media's got to sit there and treat them like they're credible because they're elbow deep into all this deception, this illegal psychological warfare campaign. So anyway, The Paris riots. I saw that video where Trump predicted. Well, he didn't predict the riots, but well, in a way, he did. He just said. I said last night, France is no longer France. He said that twice, and then he said the world better get smart and real quick. That's what he said. And now they're dealing with what they're dealing with. That's right, Mary. It had to be this way. And it's a genius plan. I know it's hard. But hey, having freedom is hard. Hard work to keep it. So I'm looking at a photo where they burned down a police station in France, and they also robbed that weapons store in Marseilles. And here's the article where the French seized sniper rifles. They know exactly where they were made. And the Archer, let me see, French police seized sniper rifles manufactured by Accuracy International, which were handed over to Ukraine last year. And at the same time, Zelensky that these riots are going on, Zelensky is demanding the introduction of NATO troops into the territory of Ukraine. And the failure of their counteroffensive demonstrates that they don't have the ability to even reach the borders of Crimea. And he said a radical escalation scenario is needed. So then there's a news article, I think it's a British newspaper, that says that the French police were fired upon by weapons that were sent to Ukraine and made it back. So that's going to be very interesting. And then the Russians come out and announce that they're starting redirecting their manufacturing capabilities to focus on creating a fleet of tanks, thousands of tanks. In a press release, they're suspending any other activity. This company that manufactures, they're suspending any activity that's part of their portfolio to do a multi-thousand tank fleet. So the consolidation of their assets has been reporting since the beginning of the year. Namely, Russia is preparing to begin the return of the Soviet concept of a multi-thousand tank fleet. They've already started with a production run of 1,600 T-90M Privov tanks. So, yeah, they're getting ready for something really big. And the people in Ukraine, it is terrible. But just as they were reporting during this supposed Wagner uprising, that in the western part of Ukraine, they got internet, they got air conditioning, they haven't felt the hard hand of war. Hi, Robin, how are you? Thank you. And you have a great 4th of July, too. And we are remembering the 160th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg, where so many people lost their lives to preserve this union. And then this other report is that Russia is not going to be running out of missiles anytime soon. They've got scads of missiles to be slinging over there. And despite sanctions and export controls, Russians will be able to produce or otherwise acquire, maybe through that guy they traded for Brittany Griner, long-range strike capability necessary to inflict significant damage upon Ukraine Ukraine's people, economy, and military. So the gloves are off. Now, this is something I was going to talk about, money I didn't get to put in my title, the dollar. And I want to ask the chats a little question. See if you guys, who gets it first, if anybody gets this. But Argentina paid off its debt to the International Monetary Fund in the amount of 2.7 billion. Wow. Argentina coming through, paying off the International Monetary Fund, 2.7 billion. But they didn't use dollars, and it was accepted. So their debt has been cleared with the International Monetary Fund. Which currency do you think Argentina used to pay off its debt to the International Monetary Fund? Disdaining dollars, right, in South America. I'll let you guys cogitate on that. Which currency? While I finish this article without giving it away, it will be possible to, if this continues, it will be possible to talk about the acceleration process of the de-dollarization of South America, our southern neighbors. In the long-term economic strategy, I can't give that away, leads to a steady increase of the influence of another currency in the global economic and international financial system. And let's see if anybody got it. Doll hairs. He said doll hairs. Mr. Minister said dinar. Nikki said silver and gold. Well, we got a couple of people, let me see who got it right first. Kim said rubles. That's a good guess. That's what I would have thought, but no. Tubala said gold. No. Jerry Lee, he gave himself two choices. He said yuan or ruble. Karen said thanks. Jamie said ruble. Dottie said Chinese. And that is the answer. The yuan is spelled Y-U-A-N. But let's see, who was Ian spelled it right, yuan. Wicked Trillium said so Ian got it and spelled it right first. And then, let's see, Jerry Lee got it, but he picked a ruble with it too, maybe. So, okay, yeah, with the yuan. Can you believe that? I would have thought ruble too, because Russia was hanging out down there in Venezuela. So they paid it off with the yuan. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means China leads to a steady increase in the influence of the yuan in the global economy. That's why a conflict between the U.S. and China is inevitable. The strengthening of China comes at the expense of the weakening of the United States, and Washington understands this. A future war over Taiwan is one of the tools the U.S. will use to try to change its unfavorable trends. So that's where you see Biden will be wanting to scrap with China. Not Biden, but his puppet master. Okay. And that's when Mr. T said he thinks China is going to rat out Biden to a degree that will cripple irreparably his presidency. That's what Trump said. He said Biden China was going to put out something that would destroy the Biden presidency. So we'll see how that all that is percolating. Well, most U.S. banks are technically near insolvency, and hundreds are already fully insolvent. That's from a report. His name is Rubini. He writes for Market Watch. So, and I know most of you have seen that general. That general came out? Was he on MSNBC, the one who said banks were going to fail, that we wouldn't be able to get into banks for a couple of weeks, things like that? If he's being put out by MSNBC or NBC, I kind of give that side eye, but we know anything's possible. That's right. They're going to turn on potato. So anyway, I got a longer article about the dollar situation. In 2008, when the Federal Reserve started printing more money through quantitative easing, y'all remember that? Trillions of dollars. They were debasing the U.S. dollar, namely that the more there is of something, less valuable it is. However, the majority of people didn't notice because their 401ks still looked good, okay? But when you dilute the currency, also called debasing the currency, people will talk about this grand colossal market crash, which will bring all assets to their knees during the decades of money printing, debt, etc. It's not going to happen. Stocks will actually continue to go up at a quicker pace. Why? Currency debasement. Look at Venezuela. In other words, money will be so cheap. Like I was talking about my grandmother taking marks. That's a German dollar, a mark. They were crumbling them up, putting it in the oven to start the fire. So, hey, gee, my Tesla stock tripled. Well, that's because your dollar's worth 3 times less. You need 3 times the dollars to buy something. He said, look at Venezuela. When price in Venezuelan currency, asset markets went parabolic. Mainly, they shot way up. That's because the companies were generating more business, not because they were generating more business. It's because the money is worthless. To buy a share of stock today would cost the Venezuelan multiple times more than it would a decade ago. The currency has been debased. So keep that in mind, folks. If the money is worth less, all they do is print more. Hey, I got $10 instead of 5. Well, today you can't get for $10 what you used to be able to get for 5 last year. So, that's how it works. What they call it, face peeling. That's an awful tough way to put it. Face peeling inflation. But anyway, there was an assassination attempt on the head of the Republic of Crimea. And I'll get a video clip of this. A character that would trained a Russian-born citizen who was already identified and detained. He was born in 1988, recruited by the SBU and took a course in reconnaissance and subversive activities in Ukraine, including mine explosive training. Then they smuggled him back in, or smuggled him down there near Crimea as if he was just a Russian citizen but he was subversively training to do this assassination attempt, and he planned to blow up this person's car, but was caught retrieving the bomb from a hiding place. So the video shows him walking down the sidewalk, all cool, and then all of a sudden he jumps off to this, just scoots inside some hedgerows or scrub brush there to get this bomb, and then some guys jump out of a van, all armed up. So they knew what he was up to. They've been tracking him, and he's going to be in some big trouble. And his assassination attempt failed. So a couple of broadcasts ago, I think about 3 or 4 broadcasts ago, I was talking about a missile strike with Russia. And I believe it was a hypersonic missile, but I didn't get any details during that broadcast, but I said there was an important strike by Russia. And what it was they hit another semi-hardened facility that nobody really knew the Russians knew about. And it was full of mercenaries, namely Americans plus other for hire people, but a lot of Ukrainian officers. And it wasn't put out on the news, but I think it was about maybe 4 days after it happened, it was mentioned. But there was also another strike on a pizzeria in back in June 27th. And that was also a clandestine, they say a clandestine meeting. A pizzeria was a clandestine meeting place for officers and mercenaries. And Russia said they were going to hit decision-making centers. So apparently it can go from these tunnels, the one that I talked about a week ago, to this semi-hardened facility that happened the other day, and now a pizzeria. They're finding out where these officers and strategists are meeting. So it says the American television channel CBS reports that as a result of a missile attack on a pizzeria in Kramatorsk on June 27th, a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps was killed. And the reason I'm saying this because it does mention here that his family was notified, because I've seen a lot of identifications, a lot of names, passports, ID cards with Americans' names on it. But if their family is notified, I don't say who they are. But I do mention that American mercenaries have been getting mopped up around there. The TV channel clarifies that the deceased is Jan Frank Totorki. Totorki arrived in Ukraine in the spring of 2022. He took part in many operations of the so-called, quote, Foreign Legion. His death was confirmed by his relatives. So that's another report of a mercenary there. Oh my gosh, I've gone an hour and 20 minutes. I got more Ukraine stuff. A reaction I know you all have seen. I won't get into too much stuff. I know a lot of you got to go to bed. And I hope you do have a great 4th of July tomorrow. But I know most of you have seen this character put out a video about how wonderful it is to be the alphabet club in the military, right? Well, that's even been noticed over in the East. Department of Defense put this out on their Twitter page. And I guess I'll get the video for it, but U.S. Army Major. Now, this is a post by the Department of Defense official. And they got a picture of this person standing there with their arms crossed. And U.S. Army Major Rachel Jones is a name he/she picked, found solace after coming out as a transgender female. Her, quote, journey, they don't quote it, they don't put quotes around it in the blog. They I guess properly gender this person who was a male who came out as a transgender female. They call them her with no parentheses, no qualifiers. So her journey from battling depression and suicidal thoughts to an embracing authenticity inspires us all. So they're there in uniform with their arms crossed, and in each hand they have a pride flag. And of course, this is picked up by our enemies, potential enemies, and disappointed allies. And they say, thanks. Good to know that the U.S. military has suicidally depressed transgender officers in leadership positions. So that's the view of that business, I'll say, in the Eastern Bloc. So anyway, folks, let me just see what's going on in the chats. I've been jabbering. I have been jabbering. Let's see. That's right, Jamie. We're all waiting on the famous tweet and the 7 presidential messages. Well, I don't know. But, it's late in the broadcast, but I want you guys to think about something. Be worth cracking the history books open. They're saying they're trying to keep Trump off the ballot, right? There's going to be at least 5 states that have been co-opted or infiltrated, all right? 5 Democrat states that are going to try to keep Trump off the ballot. They're going to try to keep him off the ballot nationally, okay, with this so-called insurgency claim. Think about the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln. We had an election. Okay? Abraham Lincoln. How many states participated during the Civil War to re-elect Lincoln? How many states participated when Lincoln got elected? But at the end of the day, the states were all pulled back together again. The Union was preserved. But because we were at war, some states didn't participate. Just something to think about. There's precedent for certain states of the Union did not participate in who was the president. So, what kind of scenario could develop like that? Because as we've all heard Mr. T say, he's a wartime president and we are a nation at war. He said that more than once. All right, folks, I appreciate you all spending your precious time with me tonight. And I hope you all have a great 4th of July. What a privilege it is when you think not just to live in this country. You think of all the civilizations, all the nations, all the billions and billions and billions of people who have lived on this earth over the past 2,000 years, that we're privileged enough to be living in this country. This young country. We're just a few years away from celebrating our 250th year anniversary. Our celebration of 250 years. That little dot on the map, the timeline of history is such a small dot. When you consider the people who have lived, died, how many billions and billions of people plus the timeline of thousands of years of humanity and biblical history, 5,000 years or more, that little dot, and we're in that little dot, time and place. What a privilege. We're here for a reason. So let's give thanks for that, celebrate that, and what a responsibility on top of a privilege, right, folks? So let's handle with care. Let's handle with care. We got one shot at this. We're going to keep our heads on right. We want to follow the Constitution, and we want to remind ourselves of what Christ told us. Love one another as I have loved you. Even when you have a lib making you mad, if you come to them as an adult intelligence with your feet on the ground, not talking about crazy stuff, that you have their good in mind, the good for your nation in mind, and you're coming with the Spirit of Christ to try to communicate to somebody who's troubled, you'll do much better than arguing in a hostile way. So we're going to bind the nation wounds, folks, and we're going to come out better, stronger, and the best is yet to come, okay? So you all hang in there. And again, I thank you for tuning in. Everybody who tunes in afterwards, after this broadcast, I thank you all. And thank you for helping me out with the Buy Me a Coffee. I appreciate it so much. You all have a great night. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.